If you already have a child and you are pregnant again, you might be considering whether or not you want to have them present for your birth. And if you're going to be birthing in the hospital, especially these days with COVID, that I can almost guarantee that won't be an option. You can just have your partner and a doula present. But if you're going to be in a birth center or you're having a home birth, it could be an option to have your child there. So I went through this, deciding if I wanted my son to be there for my daughter's birth, and we did elect to have him there. But a really important part for us was that there was somebody assigned just to my son. So my mother, her main job during my birth was to be with my son. So if he wanted to come into the birth space, she would come with him. She would kind of see how he was handling it. If he felt overwhelmed, then she would take him out. If he needed food, if he needed anything, like she was there for him. So my partner, my husband didn't have to leave to care for our son during our birth experience. So if your child is going to be there, make sure that you or your partner are not having to care for them too much during that time, that they have somebody that is taking care of their needs. And if your child is old enough to have a discussion about birth, you can also ask them if they want to be there. So for my son, again, I straight up asked, do you want to be there for your sister's birth? And he said, like, maybe. I want the option, but I'm not quite sure. I also asked him if he wanted to watch birth videos to kind of see what it might be like. So I chose some very gentle birth videos, ones that wouldn't totally terrify him. And so that was nice to kind of give him some exposure, let him kind of think about it. And so when the birth actually started, he would kind of pop in, watch me a little bit. And then if I would have a contraction where I would make a lot of noise, he'd be like, okay, I'm gonna leave. He would kind of phase out. And so that was kind of how it happened. He would come in, he would come out. And then right after my daughter's head came out, I was standing up in the bathroom. Her head was between my legs. My son came in and he's like, I knew that babies come out of your butt. And then he left because he was horrified by what he saw. But then he came back in pretty soon after she was fully born, and I was fascinated. And I'm so glad he had the option to be there, because now when I talk to him about it, he thinks of it as a pretty cool experience. I really think that it helped to bond him to his sister more, to feel like he wasn't being left out of this really special experience for our family. He wasn't overwhelmed. It didn't overwhelm me either, because something that can happen is, if the birthing mom is like really in the zone and her other child comes in and is asking questions and distracting her, it can make it more challenging for the birthing woman. So that was a discussion that I had with my mom, that, if my son was just really overwhelming me, that I would pull her aside, or I would let my husband know, I think I need a break from our son being in here for a while. I didn't end up needing that, but I want you to know, if you're considering this, that is your right. If you find that having your child there is too much for you, you have every right to ask their support person to take them somewhere else. That's okay. You shouldn't feel guilty about that. And if you have, a toddler, a child that isn't quite old enough to have like a full discussion about this with, you can just kind of see, you can have their support person bring them into the space when you're birthing, and just like really pay attention to the child's cues. If they're like tensed up, if they feel kind of scared, then you can take them out of the space. But if they're really interested, really comfortable, some toddlers, some kids just want to be in the space, maybe reading a book, watching something on a screen. That can be fine to just let them be there. Sometimes they don't want to be talking to you and engaging, but they just want to be in the space. So obviously this is a very personal decision. Ultimately, you need to be comfortable with it. Your child could be begging to be there, but if your instincts are like, I just think it's going to make the experience harder, trust your instincts, because you're the one that's birthing. you need to be comfortable. And then on the flip side, we also don't want to force a child to be there. You know, you might think, oh, I really, really want them to see the birth. They have to be there. But if your child is like freaking out and really showing signs that this is too much for them, obviously we also need to honor their needs and let them leave if it's too much for them. If you have any questions about this that I didn't answer, or have a story to share about your child being present at your other child's birth, please let us know in the comments below.